the risk of sounding batshit insane today, I'm going to tell you why I think I was part of something like Project Montauk. If you don't know, Project Montauk was a CIA program where they subjected children to extreme trauma to help develop psychic abilities, okay? Think kind of like 11 in Stranger Things. Now, when I was a child, I was very highly gifted. From all of elementary school, I scored in the 99th percentile on every single test. They identified me as highly gifted at my 2-year-old well check. I ended up being in like the GATE program when I was in elementary school, even though I went to a one-room Christian church school. I was Seventh-day Adventist. They would like arrange for me to go from my school to the public school so that I could attend GATE. And then because of that, in 6th grade, they had me take the SATs, the college entrance exam. Because I got the highest score for girls in like my part of the state, I was invited to go to the STEM school near Chicago called IMSA that works with Fermi Lab, and they do a lot of research for the government. It's a physics lab. So they had me come up when I was in 7th grade and 8th grade, and they observe you with all the other kids that like did well, and then they select like a certain number of them, and they send you an invitation in 9th grade, and you can't attend until you're in 10th grade. So in 9th grade, they had invited me, and my dad said he told them he wasn't, like, he had a lot of reservations because it wasn't a religious school, and he had me in Christian school for a reason, because he thought the world was really evil. And also he wanted me to be able to observe the Sabbath, and they were like, that's okay, there's a lot of Jewish students here, we don't have anything on the Sabbath at this school. And they were like, no, I really don't think so. So my dad ended up saying no. So my sophomore year, the first year I would have been able to attend that school, my life suddenly got extremely traumatic out of nowhere. And here's the thing, I went to a Christian school, boarding school, that was only about 30 minutes away from where the STEM school was, okay? And 2 different boys transferred into my school that only transferred in for my sophomore year, which is kind of weird because like most of the kids in that school had known each other since childhood. The Adventist community is kind of insular, and these were like people nobody knew, okay? The one boy, he now is a high-ranking official at the Department of Defense. I know because I had one of my friends do like a background check on him a few years ago, because that was like, he was actually my boyfriend for a while. And then after raping me, he broke up with me and like started dating my best friend. There was another boy who came in who was like supposedly from the Netherlands or something. His dad was like some rich guy, and then he transferred out that year, and he like nobody really knew him. And then the third guy was from my home group of friends, not my boarding school, and like it was this group of friends that I had a long time that I always trusted, that I was really close with. But for some reason one night there was this guy that was kind of new to them who was hanging out with our group, and that night I passed out cold. Never happened any other time. And he convinced them all to assault me while I was passed out. That was all the year I was 15, 16. Like, that's a lot of random things to have happen in 1 year. But I understand it could be random, okay? But here's the really crazy part. Then the year after I graduated high school, I was working at McDonald's, okay? And a man comes in to where I'm working, and he says he's a psychic warlock, and he can tell that I'm psychic too, because I have like circles under my eyes or something. And I was like, oh yeah, prove it. And so he was like, well, you're pregnant. And I was like, yeah, right, okay. And so, but then I started thinking about when my last period was, and that there was like one single incident where I did not use protection, and I was like, freaked myself out. So I sent my friend to go get a pregnancy test while I was still at work. Brings it back. I take it in the bathroom. I'm pregnant. Okay? Literally like a week away from my missed period. Then that man starts coming in every single day. Okay? And he orders the same thing every single day. And like, very quickly, I start just automatically having his order ready on the tray as soon as he walks in the door. And this pleased him so greatly that he brought me a bag of runes and said he was going to teach me all about how to use my psychic powers. And he started like coming in to have meetings with me every day. But then I started having dreams about him, hyper realistic dreams. And like in real life, he would always be really nice to me. But in my dreams, he would like be like cruel and like terrorize me. And like it freaked me out so much that the next time he came in, I hid in the back, and he never came back again, ever. Okay, and then like, so I mostly stopped working with like a lot of psychic stuff. But then to go back to high school, besides like the 3 assaults, there was also a teacher who just transferred into my school for that 1 year as a new math teacher, okay, who supposedly had been an English teacher in Russia the year before, and this was her first year teaching math. But it also seemed like it was her first year doing math. Like she was really, and I was a highly gifted student. So I would sit in her class. She would be so dumb. I would figure out how to do the problem first before she did. Then I would go up to the front of the class and teach everybody else how to do it. And I would like try to keep everybody, because everybody would get really rowdy because she was so bad. And I would try to keep everybody under control. And she only would pick on me. And like, I was the only one she hated, even though I was the only one who was being good to her. So by the second semester, I was over it, and I started terrorizing her too. But like she moved me to the back of the class. She started following me around the school, shooting me with rubber band guns. Like, she was so bad that they had to take her other classes away from her. And the only class they left her with was the one that I was in. Half the class dropped in the middle of the year. Like that year, I started doing self-harm, and like, it was a really, every single thing that could possibly go wrong. I had been the happiest child ever until like shit started really going bad. Okay, so jump forward again to that guy who came to McDonald's. Around the same time, there was a bunch of other weird shit that happened to me, okay? Number one, we moved into this house and I started getting phone calls. I was going to the community college, and while I was gone at class, somebody would call the house for me and ask my mom for me. But the name they left was somebody I didn't know. And we had literally just moved there within the month. Nobody had that phone number yet. And like, they kept asking for me by name only when I wasn't there, and then saying it was my friend by a name I didn't have. And I was like, okay, that's weird. Then we also had this radio in our basement. That year, it just started randomly going off at like different times, but always highest possible volume. And like, it wouldn't be what you left it on. It would just be something really loud and obnoxious at all different times of day, unless you left it unplugged. We had that same stereo at houses before and after. It only did it that year. Then I moved out of my mom's house into my first apartment, and there was a man who would randomly knock on my window and expose himself to me that like never actually caused me any harm except for psychologically, because I didn't know if he was gonna attack me or not. And that's the year I ended up getting diagnosed with Crohn's disease, because like, the stress was playing a factor too. I was so tense all the time. Like sometimes I would stay up all night watching the window because I was so afraid somebody was gonna come in and attack me. Like I was living in extreme anxiety during that period in my life. And I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and I got pregnant, and then the weird stuff all just stopped happening to me. But recently, since I got well and started like being an astrologer and talking about like a lot of this stuff online, some weird stuff has started happening to me again. And maybe it's just weird stuff because people on the internet are weird. But I have pretty good pattern recognition skills, and it seems a little bit targeted. Like a journalist in Iran started sending me videos and stuff to post that they said, they wanted to get out the message from Iran. This person did have 100,000 followers on their account. But the astrology showed me they are a hidden enemy, and also just my gut told me that is not a person to be trusted. I don't think they're actually from Iran, but they don't appear to be in the United States either. I mean, all this was happening while the internet was down in Iran. And they were asking me a lot of questions about what I believe the outcome of this war is going to be, and if I can predict exactly where they will be dropping bombs, and like what I think is going to happen, like with Trump. He had me do a little interview with an old man who was a teacher talking about his school being bombed. My dad was a teacher. So like they're trying to like emotionally manipulate me, but I was like, this is like the videos that they sent me to post. I was like, I don't think Iran would want this message out. This seems like the message that the US would want us to believe about Iran. And there was like dead kids and stuff like that. There's this homeless man who randomly appears in my life a lot and says really creepy things. There's a man who's like stalking me, who's military, by the way, military in Florida, who like, I don't know, he said he was trying to get an FBI military joint task force against me because I'm a terrorist. He emailed my local police station about me every day for a year. He's really strung out on drugs too, though. He's damaged from being in the military too. But like, he definitely seems like somebody has pushed him to believe that I am a real threat. There was a girl who approached me when I was out drinking, and I had posted on my Instagram stories where I was, okay, and she said, I saw you before and you looked really pretty. She was like 21, and I thought it was really weird for somebody that young to be like, because she hung out with me the whole night. She just like, and she said she had seen me before. That struck me as odd, okay? But she just kept following me around the whole night while we were at the bar, and like really insisting that she followed me on my social media. Like, she added me on Facebook. But then later when I messaged her, she just ignored me, which was kind of weird. I sent her a picture of my legs to show me that after I hung out with her at the bar, my legs ended up extraordinarily swollen, and I had what looked like a severe allergic reaction. I ended up going to the hospital after I left there. And she didn't say anything about it, so I thought that was kind of weird since she was so insistent on being my friend. I can see a military base like pretty much out my window, by the way. And I am a little bit psychic, okay? I don't really have a full understanding of what or why or how to use it or anything, but sometimes I just know things that there's no way for me to know, and then I'm just right.